given my limited knowledge on all things mechanical, I'm just going to leave it at that and move on, because there is a cemetery here we want to check out. Plus, yep, there's a plus. We may even be able to see some of the old miner shacks closer to the mine. Just in this little spot here, you can see some interesting pieces of glass. You've got a yellow piece right here. You've got this nice chunk of purple. And it's kind of an interesting shape. Might have been like a bottle or something, but not your typical like beer bottle like these, or the necks from what looks like beer bottles, or you know, the old jugs that they had. This is obviously the bottom to one of them bottles, and then got the green glass and another bottom. There's some clear over here too. Now if I can only just find my way back down to where the truck is without having to walk 300 miles. But I think my best bet is to stay on the road, because trying to pick my way through the underbrush, more likely to come across critters that I don't want to come across. And here on the road, at least, you have a fighting chance of seeing them before they see you. This, by the way, is that building that I pointed out from up there when I said I got so excited over the hulking pieces of machinery over there that I forgot to film it. But you can see that this has, like, I want to say almost like concrete reinforced walls, and then it just had this roof over the top. I have no idea what it was used for. I just thought it was an interesting structure out here in Frisco. And then over here is just a foundation that is just dug into the ground, and obviously the top part of the building is gone. Now, I had communicated with Marty. We've got these to keep in touch, and he found the remains of an old vehicle out in the desert. So I'm going to head over to the next, and then I think we're going to head to the cemetery.
There's a couple old cars here. You can see the old bucket where you'd sit in, the old sideboard with the fenders on it yet. There's a few cars here because there's too many fenders laying around for one vehicle. And behind you, Sally, looks like another bucket that's just all bent up where people would sit. Kind of like this one where they'd sit. Come around here. The spring's still in here where you used to sit. What's left of it. Not many springs left, but that's where you used to sit.
Not nearly intact as I thought it would be.
No, this ain't no fixer-upper, let me tell you that.
You need a lot more pieces.
A lot of love.
Than what's here in order to fix her up, huh?
More love than a mother can give an ugly baby.
Gotta love Marty. And now, for a little bit of sightseeing fun.
Now this little item here I found. Can you guess what this is? Cowboys used to carry these around.
First person who guesses right in the comments can get their very own Sightseeing Sally sticker.
In 4 to 6 weeks.
That's right, 4 to 6
COD.
weeks. No, not COD. But we will send you your very own Sightseeing Sally sticker if you guess it correctly. We'll reveal the answer later on. As promised, the cemetery. Now, the thing that I find most interesting about this cemetery is that despite the town having 6,000 people and all the supposed loss of life that occurred from all those barroom brawls and other nefarious dealings that were going on, is that when you walk around the cemetery, you don't see all that many marked graves. However, given the fact that time has passed, a lot of time has passed, it's possible that some of the graves that were marked no longer appear to be marked because the headstones deteriorated. Maybe they were wooden stakes, you know. And then the fact that if they were burying people like, you know, Black Bart or whoever else, they probably weren't marking those graves. They may have just been piling them up. For those who don't know, Charles E. Bowles, aka Black Bart, was an American outlaw whose passion for robbing stagecoaches eventually got him arrested and sentenced to 6 years in San Quentin. He served 4, got out in 1888 on good behavior, and disappeared shortly after, never to be seen again. This first one you can see is clearly defined with a wooden cross, somebody left behind cowboy boots that are starting to deteriorate in the sun, an old, I think that's a banana, and then obviously you can see that the ground is mounded up, and then next door to that is another one with a cross, and then the ever telltale sign of the mounding of the ground. There are some with actual headstones. This one over here, let's take a quick look to see who that is. It says, in memory of Charles K. Odell, born at Poughkeepsie, New York, October 19th, 1841, died at Frisco, Utah, November 21st, 1898. And then there's some writing that is kind of faded. It appears to be some sort of religious saying. And then you can see that somebody left behind old boots for him and a few other tokens. The other thing that I found interesting or notable about this cemetery is the number of children's graves that are in here. This one, for example, son of James and Maddie Barrett, born January 31st, 1883, died January 19th, 1884. He was barely a year old when he died. And you can see this one is enclosed, the front of it, the gate's missing, in iron. And that, I believe, stems from a belief that if you encircled your grave with iron, it would prevent spirits or your spirit from haunting others. See, another child's grave. This one died in August of 1882 and was again just under a year old. This little boy didn't even make it a year. Then you have the daughter, the beloved daughter of William and Anne James. Her name was Rachel. She was born December 17th of 1872. Virtually 100 years and 9 months before I was born. You can see from the dates, Rachel lived to be not quite 11 years old. These headstones are marking graves of children as well. I guess back then they had a lot of issues with rheumatic fever, and it seemed that children were especially susceptible and a lot of times didn't make it. Again, it is an interesting cemetery, especially when you think about how Frisco, being the town with the reputation that it had, being not exactly a place where you'd want to raise children, raise a family, and yet the majority of the graves that you see here happen to be children. See what I mean? Lots of children buried here. I also find that curious that, mining is a really dangerous occupation, and given that that mine collapsed, I wonder if maybe some of the miners that were lost, if there was anybody that was involved in that collapse, if they were just left their bodies were just left where they were at. They didn't bother to retrieve them. Or if perhaps, the other thought I had is that because of all the mining that went on, if maybe there's other cemeteries around here that they just, you know, if you were out working and somebody succumbed to a mining accident, if you just didn't bury them there. I don't know. It's a thought. Just something I was thinking about as I was looking around the cemetery and pondering on the lives of those who are buried here. Oh look, one of the old mining shacks. If you look up there, you can see what I believe is an old head frame. Looks like there's a road that goes up. Why don't we take a quick look-see and see what we can find. Oh look, it appears to be another old boiler down here. And then if you look at the top of this hill, you can see what looks like the remains of an old telegraph pole or telephone pole or electric pole. And then just beyond that, you have a metal cylinder, which may have been there for collecting water or holding water, or maybe for some other purpose that I'm not aware of. We're almost to that miner shack that I saw from down below. And there it is. Wow, that looks old. That is definitely from back when they were mining out here originally. Because I guess in the early 2000s, they tried to reopen the mine and start remining over here. But I don't really know what happened, what caused them to stop. Or maybe they still are. I don't really know. Obviously the roof is caving in. I'm not going to go inside. I'm just going to point out a few things. You can see the sheet metal here, the wood and the wood beams, the stones, the wood door frame to the entry into it. Looks like it was added on over the years. And then you've got this here with sheet metal on the end. And then there is this structure, which is no longer. If you look up above to the top of the hill, you can see another one of those mysterious poles, cross-like looking poles. A mysterious road going up the side of the mountain, and another mystery road going up on the left side. And then if you look just off over there, you've got another mysterious pole. That one definitely looks like some sort of electric pole that they had electricity running out here at some point. And then down over there, you can see another shack, another miner shack. It's incredible to think of the history that is here, just deteriorating, crumbling away in the desert. From this vantage point, you get quite the view. The miner shack. I think I mistakenly called that a head frame earlier. From a distance, that's what it looked like. And then another miner shack down there. Another one there. The remains of some sort of building there that's made out of stone. And then over here, the remnants of something probably related to the processing of the ore. And then you've got what looks like another one of those strange buildings where it was like dug out in the ground with the concrete walls and then just the very short roof over it. And then just beyond that is another stone building. Here, let me zoom in. Here, you can see what I'm talking about a little bit better. And then right over here is at least one of the mines where they were mining. Probably the one that caved in. Of course, there are other mines out here besides the one that caved in because they were mining all sorts of things, but mainly the silver. The silver was described, I believe, with one of the mines as being one of the greatest silver lodes ever for that time period. Looks like I've come to a crossroads of some sort. Do I A, follow the mysterious road to the left, or B, follow the mysterious road to the right, where it possibly leads to the ever-elusive head frame. Decisions. Well, sightseers, you'll just have to wait till later in the video to find out, did I take road number A or road B? Door number 1 or door number 2? You remember that old show, don't you? That game show? Anyways, we've got choices here to make, and you'll just have to wait and see which one I chose. I thought this was going to be another one of those wah, 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 wah moments, thinking I was going to find the head frame up here. But instead, I stumbled upon this. A fairly intact old miner shack, along with an old mine right behind it. Just to be nosy, I'm going to peek inside, see if there's anything interesting to be found. Some graffiti. Here, I'll let you take a look. I got the wide view on. Make it look bigger than what it really is. There's the graffiti, 89, and then a pipe sticking down from what I can only assume was an old wood heating stove. You know, the old potbelly stoves that they used. There is another route. It's like, I've come all this way. Do I just ignore it? Or do I take another little gander and see what I can find? It's kind of like, time-wise, I should probably just forget about it. But there's a part of me that's really super nosy and wants to just go up at least to where that one boulder is and take a look. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go for it. Judging by my breathing, you can tell I'm like totally winded. And this is definitely a dead end. Another wah, 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 wah moment. Alright, I'm gonna head back down and get on out of here. Speaking of head frames, now that I'm on my way back, I can see distinctly there, right where I had pointed out that round metal container, directly below it is the head frame. I think I'm going to pass though on climbing up there because the route from here doesn't look easy at all. And given the time of day and the fact that there is that building down below, the stone building I want to take a closer look at, I'm just going to, on that, ixnay on the head frame XA. Okay, I don't know Pig Latin. That's what I was trying for. By the way, I think this may be an old metal ore cart. Okay, I am totally going back because I finally spotted the legitimate head frame. Oh my goodness. That was a hike, and I am so glad that I made it because here's the piece de resistance. The piece de resistance. Oh, my French is very rusty, as well as the equipment out here, but this was definitely worth the hike. Take a look at this. Look at that. You have the head frame, the shack, and then that wooden piece of equipment there where they would have shaken out the ore into probably awaiting ore carts or some other means of transporting it off the mountain. Seriously, this is the type of stuff we live for, especially Marty. I just wish he would have been able to make the hike up, but lucky for him, I take good video, and oh, that is so cool. That is the thing, sightseers, that just, wow. That's Old West history right there. Now that's a head frame, sightseers. That's a head frame.
These remains serve as a stark reminder of a time when towns went quickly from boom to bust. Though Frisco is said to have been at the center of one of the most successful silver mining districts, its glory days were short-lived, having lasted only about 10 years before the collapse of the Silver Horn mine in 1885 put a halt to whatever future development may have been in store for the fast-moving Frisco. By the turn of the century, only 14 businesses remained, and by the 1920s, Utah's wildest mining town was just another ghost town.
From this vantage point, I want to point out that you can now easily see the defunct electrical poles that I pointed out earlier. I'm thinking, if I'm not mistaken, that this might be the remains of an old rail system. If you look, you can see the ties coming across. Just the metal is either buried or long gone. I have to say, out of all the ghost towns that we've visited over the years, aside from the ones that have been preserved and are being maintained by some historical body, this here is probably the most preserved ghost town that I've ever seen. Just out here in the Utah desert. This is high desert, by the way, because you can tell it has the pine trees and, well, I'm assuming they're pine. They could be some other type of evergreen. I think I did see some juniper trees. You can tell by the smell. Fun fact, juniper berries are used to make gin. Wow, now this is interesting. This is where all the action was going on, where the mining was being done. You can see in some of the cliff faces holes being where they bored into the side of the mountain, and then right here, I believe, is where they were digging down, perhaps where that mine collapsed. You can see up over there where they were also boring into the side of the mountain. Wow, this just blows my mind that this is here. I mean, you can see where they had timbers, perhaps with a makeshift ladder leading up into that mine shaft. Well, let's move on, because there was a couple other things I wanted to point out here. And then, who knows? There's a lot of adventures to be had down here in Utah. You never know where we might end up next.
Warning.
These are some of the tailings that were dug out of the mines. Like Marty said, you never know what kind of toxic minerals or chemicals could be in those tailings, so I'm not gonna mess around with those. But what I wanted to point out is this building here. I had spotted it from way up above, and of course, what they say about curiosity, well, I had to go check it out for myself and share it with y'all. Well, this building here looks like, oh, I don't know what it looks like. It looks like it's fallen down. But it's possible that at some point they may have started dismantling the mining operation that was here and then just left it. So your guess is as good as mine, unless you happen to know. Unless you happen to be in the know and want to share that with us. Moving on, we've got this lovely stone building over here. You can see they really took care putting this one together. It's actually mortared in between the stones. You can see from this angle that it actually looks like two different builds. Like you've got this bottom that was built and then this top. Looking at it from here, it doesn't appear that there's a lower story. I guess they just needed that extra foundation to ensure it wouldn't collapse. Speaking of collapse, those timbers inside don't look like they're holding up too well. Yeah, look at that roof. That's called open air dining. Or an open air concept. If I'm not mistaken, this is one of the spots where they were processing the ore. Clue number one, all the tailings that have been left behind. Clue number two, and probably most importantly, is this structure here with the odd metal mesh, whatever you want to call that, attached to the concrete slab, which is then attached to this wooden structure that goes way out over here. However, I'm not all that familiar with mining processes. Take it with a grain of salt. Moving on. I think we've exhausted everything that there is to see here in Frisco. I thought maybe by coming down this road here, we'd see some more buildings, but all I'm seeing are remnants of perhaps like old mining shacks, you know, the ones that led into, you know, individual tunnels into the side of the hill or mountain. And then you've got tailings galore all down around here. Here's a huge mass pile of tailings that was left behind after they were processing the ore. All in all, quite the fascinating find. Until next time, this is Sightseeing Sally.